Hi, I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is live from the Hotel Edison. Times Square Chronicles presents Zoom Style. We are with somebody who actually saved my life in 2018. I had gone to a concert at Birdland called Phenomenal Woman. I had never heard this man's music. It was Louis Rosen and Carpathia Jenkins about music set to the poems of Maya Angelou. And as I was walking home, I was on a massive musical high and got run over by a cab. And if it hadn't been for that music, I don't think my energy would have been that strong and I would have survived this. And I've been friends with Louis Rosen ever since. Hello, Louis. How are you?
Hello, Susanna. Honestly, a story like that makes one, just reinvigorates, an artist to think that they could have that impact. I mean, it really means a lot. And it's so terrible that you went through that and so wonderful that you came back so strong.
Yeah, but I lived and survived because of your music. I
Oh,
had actually, after I talked to you in Carpathia, I was immediately on my phone with Magda going, "Oh my God, we have to interview these people. They are amazing. This is the best music." I
right. I
can't
remember you asked me
believe.
that night. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I still wrote. Even even in the hospital, I wrote. hmm so now you have a new album out. You already have, is this your sixth or your fifth?
Well, it's actually my 14th album, but
Holy,
it's my sixth as a solo in the since Carpathia and I you know kind of reached the end of our road. So,
oh.
yeah, it's 14 albums since almost 20 years when the first album came out, 2006.
Now I'm going to go someplace different because you've always been a voice for the voiceless politically. Wouldn't you say that?
Well, there's always been something political or kind of social commentary or observation in most of what I've done. It, the very first album that Carpathia and I made in 2006 was an album called Southside Stories, which on one level was a kind of songs of innocence, songs of experience. Uh, but it was a parallel work to a book that I wrote called The South Side, which was a memoir and an oral narrative of the white flight from the neighborhood that I grew up in. So, you know, starting overtly then, and on every album, really, there has been some political thought. And how can there not be? We live in such a complicated world, and you have to look at it and sometimes have a sense of humor about it. Sometimes,
Yeah, I would say some of the songs on that album definitely have humor.
yeah,
Um, but your new album, American Sunset, which we're going to talk about, it's like a jazz protest. Um,
yeah,
it
a couple of, yeah, it
it
is.
speaks to the heartbreak and the disassociation and you're going to find this analogy weird, but to me it's kind of in a weird way like Sondheim's Assassins
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
also Bernstein's Take Care of This House to me.
Well, all that makes sense in terms of each one is addressing in its own way the political complexities and how they affect us personally.
Right.
American Sunset, uh, all 12 songs were written between the election day which was
The
in
first one or the second one?
November 4th, recent one,
Oh, okay.
2024, and then the inauguration on January 20th.
Right.
And so within those three, is that 3 months, 2.5 months?
Yeah. Well,
As I observed everything that was happening in the transition, uh, you could see where we were going. You could see as far as I was concerned, the lack of truth, of candor, a certain selfishness, uh, a series of, from my perspective, people who were being placed into important positions who weren't there to necessarily do the job as much as to dismantle their departments or serve this new president. And it was, I think for so many of us, it was very personal. You know, we have an association, a love for the United States of America, and it felt very personal to see it beginning to be taken apart, and often for the sake of money.
mm.
And uh, it, and so from that perspective, for about 2.5 months, this work flowed in that part of it was a way for me to process what I,
Yeah, it sounds personal. It does
right,
sound very, very personal and heartbreaking, very heartbreaking.
yeah, and there's, in the personal sense, there's one song, for instance, called Candace and Me.
Right.
And it's about how, the wars rage and the seas rise, and it's in this cruel age. What can we do? And what we have to do is take care of ourselves. We I use we help our garden grow, or we watch our garden grow. And
Indeed.
that's why the the character is named Candace, right?
Oh, from Candide.
Exactly.
I got it.
Just a tip of the hat to taking Voltaire's idea and
And I
bring.
thought it was your girlfriend.
Well, in it was my wife, but she's not named Candace. And so uh, it is very personal in that way. And I think so many of us feel that amidst this political, social upheaval, that it's personal because of our sense of love and connection to our country. So
Talk
one
about
can
the
be
music.
critical of what's happening, but
No, no,
not anti, you know,
I'm
our
kind of
country.
in the middle of it all. And I don't take it that personally, but in listening to your album, and I listened to it all today, uh,
Oh,
in listening to it, I felt your heartbreak. I felt your, I don't know if there's a word for it, the feeling of where do I go?
how do we move forward? That's
Exactly.
that's a lot of what the album is ultimately pushing toward, which is why the last song, people have responded to that
Is
last
Elegy the
song.
last song?
No, the last song is And Still I Sing.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
And I've gotten a lot of feedback about that song because that song is exactly about how do we carry on? And we must carry on. And Still I Sing is a metaphor. It's literal in that, and still I do sing, but for all of us, and still we pursue what we care about, and we
No, I
carry on.
I so agree on this because so many people think, "Oh, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do anything," but they win if you do that.
That's right. And if you and I have no illusion that song makes a large political impact.
Oh, I think it does.
Well, occasionally it has,
Hey,
right?
it saved my life.
Well, yeah, which is just amazing.
And
And
it's true.
and so one just hopes that you offer your best to the people who are listening, and that it relates fundamentally to this moment in their lives, and some of it's fun. That one of my favorite songs is the song called Gulf of Mexico,
Oh, yeah.
which is just the title alone, and repeating that phrase, that's the political commentary, because it may be a song about let's light out for the Gulf of Mexico, but right now the Gulf of Mexico is a place that, according to our government, no longer exists. So, you know, th-
Let's let's talk about this album musically because it's almost like you speak the entire language of jazz and blues and in a strange way, Bernstein. It's
well,
very Bernstein to me.
well, that I will take that as a great compliment.
It is a great
Yeah,
compliment.
thank you. Because first of all, I don't know if you know this, but I was fortunate enough when I was 26 years old to be in a very intensive workshop with him,
Oh, wow.
where there were about 12 of us, and for about 2 weeks we spent a great deal of time with him, and talking about composition and narrative composition,
Mm.
and to some extent composition for theater. And it was not just because he was Leonard Bernstein did it mean a lot to me, but I knew his music even by the time I was 26 very well. I knew his classical work, I knew his ballet work, I knew his theater work. And his music always meant a lot to me. And I've learned a lot from him by studying his lectures and things like that. So to be put in the same sentence as him, uh, I take it as a real compliment. If there with anyone who influences you, you have to do your best. You have to work especially hard to try to shed the overt
Mm.
aspects of style and influence. But there were aspects of what Bernstein did that, such as combining a popular language and jazz with some classical elements and all, which is exactly what I've tried to do in my own way in all of my music. The same thing was true of the Phenomenal Woman album.
Love that album.
Yeah. So
Love that.
to me, people like Gershwin, Bernstein, they're models of this essential American idea, which is not about valuing highbrow or lowbrow. They're about no brow. They're about speaking to us in a language that we as a culture can all understand, and drawing from this wide, expressive range of jazz, popular music. In my case, like you said, there are blues elements and there are rhythm and blues elements, and there's always a, some trace of folk in my music,
Yes, I hear
because
that.
that's where I come from. And the idea of trying to make all of that one is a lot of what I've done with my work. And in some ways, you could say that's a metaphor for America too.
Mm.
E pluribus unum. The idea of, we don't have 500 years of a classical music tradition. We are this
Eclectic.
melting conglomerate of people, and all of these styles contribute to making us who we are.
Who did influence you?
Well, Bernstein was an influence. I think, I can tell you more the songwriters that I really admire. And
Okay.
I don't know that in some ways, I hope that you wouldn't hear any direct correlation, but that what they valued, uh, people like Paul Simon,
Mm.
I think uh, first Brecht in Weill, and then Randy Newman
Oh yeah.
taught my generation of songwriters how to use irony
Mm.
to uh, to a comic effect. And I think that a song like the American Clown Car March,
Oh yeah, that's a hilarious song.
from American Sunset, it reflects that. Uh, and so everybody is influenced by Bob Dylan.
Mm.
Bob Dylan showed us that we can write about anything.
Oh, true. Very true.
And the
Same
what
with Breck, actually.
that's right. And he was influenced by Brecht, among many others. And Joni Mitchell,
Love Joe.
Laura Nyro.
Love Laura Nero.
So these are all songwriters to me who were musically, each in their own way, adventurous,
And
guilty,
political. And
and
actually political.
there was always a political edge or social observation. And musically, they stretched beyond popular expectation without becoming obscure, without becoming inaccessible. And so, and their lyrics are always very smart, sometimes funny, sometimes emotional, penetrating, sometimes as simple as could be. But there's always a tremendous mix of feeling and intelligence and craft
I agree.
in their songs. And that's what I value. So, I would say that everybody I just mentioned and Steve Sondheim
Oh,
as
as you
well.
love Sondheim.
You know, I was lucky enough where he too was one of my teachers for this intense 3-week workshop with Hal Prince and Steve Sondheim.
Oh, nice.
And then he was,
Oh, wait, was this the same one that oh my God, like Jonathan Larson was in?
no, that was something different. This was before that. This was when I first came to New York, which would
Wow.
put it over 40 years ago.
You've also done incidental music for theater.
I did.
I did
Well,
not know that. And you did one of my favorites, Act One.
oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
love
was
that.
yeah, that was a treat. Would you like to hear a bit of a story about how Act One came about?
Yes, I
I
love
think
Act
you
One,
would relate to it quite strongly.
probably.
In 2012, I was just having some health issues,
Mm.
and part of it was a kind of onset that was associated with chronic fatigue and things that go with that.
Oh, yeah.
For about 6 months, I could barely get out of bed,
Mm.
but I kept exercising. I recovered. But for a few years, I would have periodic relapses. The following year, 2013, I was in the middle of a relapse. It was in August,
Mm.
and I'm walking through Prospect Park, and I got into one of those things that we can get into where, oh man, I don't even know if I'll be able to work again. I don't know if I'd ever have the strength or the concentration. and there were still things I wanted to do, and there were some people I hoped to collaborate with that I never had. And the only name that I actually said out loud was, I always wanted to work with James Lapine,
Oh,
who I knew, and I knew he knew some of my work, and I certainly knew his. But so that's the only name I said out loud. The next morning, I wake up and there's an email from James Lapine.
so you manifested.
And I thought, oh, James must have been hacked, right? And, and so then I read the email and it's like, hey, Louis, I'd like you to work on a project with me. Can we get together and talk about it? And that was Act One. So,
And you manifested.
yeah. And
Have you
so,
manifested a lot of the things that you've done?
like that, I couldn't speak. I mean, to me, if that doesn't prove that the universe operates in ways that we, can't
We
explain.
don't tap into it enough.
Yeah. So I don't know if I met, that's an interesting thing. In some ways, everything that you create is a manifestation like that. I mean,
Absolutely.
I didn't start writing the songs of this new album, American Sunset, just because I had an idea or two for a song. I had the thought in my head that I want to write a piece that is social, political, and personal. And just with that thought, the songs began. And interestingly, too, the first song that came
Hmm.
was the second song in the cycle. It's called The Wheel Goes Round.
Oh,
And
wait, hold on. If I can get, I'm not the best at these things, but if I can get this to go, I was planning on. Watching the wheel go round. That was the one I was planning on playing to show people.
oh, cool. Well, so with that song's about karma,
Is it?
right? The wheel goes round.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't even see that. I can't believe that.
And there's a line in it about whether billionaire or poor man or
Yes.
commander and thief, the
Hmm.
debt we accrue leads to a rendezvous. For whom the wheel turns, it turns for you. It's a song about karma.
Wow. And I didn't even see it. I
Oh
was
well,
so
I'm glad.
busy because I was so busy listening to your underlying rhythms and the way you change things and you diminish chords a lot, which I love.
Hmm.
Um, I like things that are very off and then come back on. Um,
The
and
tension
the
and
rhythm,
release of that, yeah.
yeah, the rhythm, the rhythmic texture. I was busy listening to that part, so I
Well,
got to
that's
get
what.
back.
Well, that's wonderful. The one of the things that all of those songwriters and artists have in common that I named is that they reward you with repeated listenings.
Mm.
That
Yes, they do.
you're not, there's a lot going on in some of their work, which should be really accessible on first hearing, but then there's more going on and there's more to listen to. So by all means, give it another pass. And I
Oh,
hope.
I will so give it another pass. I love that you put two instrumentals in it.
Mhm.
It's elegy and tango. Um, but I was like, where's the words? Like I wanted the words.
Well, I one of the things, if you recall, I did the same thing on the album Phenomenal Woman.
Oh yeah, but I love that because you wear so many hats. Do me a favor, tell our audience all the things that you've done in a brief nutshell.
Well,
Not
for
that
the
you can, but
for the first about 20 years of my compositional life, I mainly wrote for the theater. And so I've written music for plays on Broadway, off Broadway, a lot of the great regional theaters around the country, like the Goodman in Chicago or the Seattle Rep or Long Wharf, the Shakespeare Theater in Washington, D.C., and many more. And within that period of time, I wrote a few musical theater pieces, one of which was produced on the main stage of the Goodman Theater. It was a show called Book of the Night. Another was produced off Broadway, called A Child's Garden. And then I wrote a set of songs based on where I set the poetry of Langston Hughes.
Mm.
And and sometimes people would like to put you in a box. And
Always.
so the box for me was, well, do you write lyrics as I had for some of the musicals, or do you set poetry? And at that moment in time, I just thought these boxes don't matter to me anymore.
I
And
never
so I
did
wrote this
that.
cycle, and very jazzy and bluesy and hints of, classical influence as well.
Which is how all of your music is, if you ask.
Right. And someone, I was looking for a singer to sing it, and
Hmm.
someone introduced me to this woman named Capathia Jenkins.
Mm.
And I heard her sing, and we just clicked. And so for the next 7, nearly 8 years, I basically just stopped working in the theater. And what I did was write and arrange and perform
Mm.
the work with Capathia.
Right.
And
Is how I make it.
and so, within that period of time I was working in the theater, I'd written 4 musicals. I'd written scores for about 30 plays. And then I got into my mid 40s. I had just published this book that I'd written, which was an extremely liberating experience. I wrote it when I was about 40.
Mm.
And I remember I'm thinking, I'm 40. I can do whatever I want.
Oh, you went through a midlife crisis.
Yeah,
Instead of a car, you got freedom.
exactly. And I wrote this book, and the book was published, and it did quite well. And from that point on, there was just a certain sense of freedom where things weren't about, when you're young, you're always thinking about how you want to build a career. And at that point, I just only started to think about what I wanted to do. And so from that point on, I mean, 80% of the work that I would say is just mine, as opposed to me writing music for a play or something. It, it's it's really with the turn of the millennium. It's almost like the with the turn of the millennium, I just turned a whole new page. But I have to say, to finish Act One, it was a pleasure working with James.
Mm.
And when we were doing it, I had a sense, well, I'm not going to pursue writing for theater beyond this, so this might be the last thing I do in the theater. And it couldn't have been a more kind of enjoyable or fulfilling way to go out with that.
I'm surprised you didn't work with Santino after that.
You know, we got along very well. And there are times when I have thought, he is such a terrific singer that
Massive.
that I should give him a call. But
I would love to see you two work together.
yeah, it would be lovely. And I found him really a pleasure to work with, because the way the Act One music worked, it was intensely coordinated with the action and the dialogue, and it had to fit right in like a glove. It was played live. And if actors had been resistant, it would have not worked, and it would have been really difficult. But Tony Shalhoub and Santino were fantastic.
We only have 3 minutes left. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
believe this. I could talk to you forever, as you
Oh,
know.
well, thank you,
Um,
Susanna. It's a pleasure being here.
American Sunset, where can people get it?
If one, the disc itself is a limited edition, and you can get that from my website, which is www.lewisrosen.com. But it's available also for downloading or streaming on all, you know, platforms, major or small, so the obvious places of it's on Apple Music and Amazon and Spotify and all over YouTube and
Double this
Pandora.
interview.
So, pretty much wherever one wants to find it. And you can stream
I
it,
will
you
put the
can
links.
download it.
I will put the links down below so that people can hear it.
Oh,
And I
thank you.
think probably I'll put my favorite YouTube song on it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Lewis. Thank you for being with us. I am a big fan, as you know. I have to sing one of your songs one of these
Oh,
days.
that'd be great.
Um,
You know which?
I know I have to decide phenomenal woman, but Carpathia already took that one.
She kind of
Um,
did.
um, I love you. Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much. And thank you for sharing who you are in your music. I think that's a gift.
Well, thank you for listening.